I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I've been married to Lisa for about 10 years. We've got a son, Jake, who's 12, and honestly, I thought we were solid. Sure, we had our disagreements, but every marriage does. What I didn't realize was how much trouble we were really in, or how deep Lisa's betrayal would go. It started around 3 weeks ago. Jake's school announced he'd been selected to join the regional debate team. We were proud, of course. Lisa was even more excited than I was. She's always been competitive, especially when it comes to Jake. She's the kind of woman who's bitchy about everything, always cracking sarcastic comments and dismissing other parents' efforts. But she was genuinely thrilled about Jake's success and wanted to be involved. The debate tournaments took us all over the state. That meant travel, hotel stays, late nights. I trusted her, and honestly, I never thought twice about it. But as the tournaments rolled on, I started noticing little things. She'd be more secretive on her phone, sneaking it away, typing fast, then locking the screen. Her behavior shifted from friendly and overly involved to distant and defensive. She'd snap at me if I asked about her day, and her mood swung wildly. I figured maybe she was just stressed, or maybe she was just tired of the chaos of traveling with a bunch of kids. But then, I noticed a few odd things during one of those trips. She suddenly started booking hotel rooms alone, even when I was supposed to be with her. I didn't think much of it at first, but I caught her leaving her phone in the bathroom once, and she quickly snatched it away when I walked in. It was strange. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I didn't say anything. Still, there was this nagging feeling in my gut, like I was missing part of the story. Then came the night I'll never forget. It was late, maybe around midnight, and I was lying in bed scrolling through my own stuff when I heard a loud noise from the hallway. It sounded like muffled voices, raised, heated, almost like an argument. I assumed it was some other guests complaining or maybe kids being noisy. But then I remembered Lisa's recent weirdness, her phone, her secretive behavior, and my stomach. Clenched, I got up and quietly moved toward the door, listening. That's when I heard her voice. Not just talking, but persuading someone. It was her voice, but what she was saying made my blood turn cold. She was arguing, pleading, and then God, I can't believe I'm even writing this. She was saying she needed to see him, to be with him. She was talking about sex, about how she couldn't help herself, how she didn't want me to find out. I froze there, stunned. My mind was racing, trying to process what I just heard. It wasn't just innocent flirting or a drunken mistake. No, she was deep into it. I could hear the rustling of fabric, the muffled sounds of her legs brushing against someone else's, and the whispered promises. I realized she'd been cheating on me with the debate team advisor, some guy named Rick, from what I overheard. The next thing I knew, the door opened a crack and I saw her face, pale, with those bitchy eyes narrowing when she saw me standing there. She quickly slammed it shut and started yelling at me from behind it, lying like she always does. "What are you doing sneaking around? You're paranoid, Mark. You're imagining things." But I had already heard enough. I knew everything. That was the moment I realized my wife wasn't just being unfaithful. She was actively lying to my face about it. I'd caught her in a lie, and that's a betrayal I can't forgive. I thought about confronting her right then and there, but I knew I had to plan my next move carefully. I had to figure out how deep this thing went, how long she'd been cheating, and what her motives really were. I still remember the feeling, anger, heartbreak, betrayal, all swirling inside me. I felt my stomach drop and my hands shake. All those years I thought we were a team, and she's been sneaking around behind my back, talking dirty with some guy while I was supposed to be her partner. It was like everything I believed in about her, about us, was crumbling in that moment. I stayed quiet that night, watched her pack her things the next morning, and wondered how I'd been so blind. It's like she's been cheating on me with more than just Rick. She's been lying about everything. And now, I don't know what to do. Do I confront her? Do I walk away? Or do I find some way to get revenge for the way she's humiliated me? That's what's been driving me mad. After I overheard her that night, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't think straight. I kept replaying her voice, the way she begged and lied, trying to make it seem like I was crazy for even doubting her. But I knew the truth now. It wasn't just a flirtation. She was cheating with Rick and she didn't care how much she hurt me. The next morning, I sat in the kitchen staring at my coffee, trying to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to confront her right then, just call her out, yell, demand answers. But I knew she'd lie, she'd deny everything, and nothing would be resolved that way. Instead, I decided I'd gather evidence, plan my next move carefully. I needed certainty, not just suspicion. If I was going to do this, I had to know exactly how deep her lies went. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention. Her phone was her first obstacle. I knew she'd be watching me, so I had to be sneaky. I went through her texts, her social media. I found messages from Rick, flirty, suggestive, even explicit. She called him babe, told him she loved talking to him late at night, and mentioned how much she missed him when she was away at the tournaments. It was all there in her messages, laid out for me like a roadmap of her betrayal. I also noticed she was still traveling alone sometimes, booking separate rooms. I decided to follow her one night. I didn't want her to know, so I parked a block away, watched her check into a hotel, and waited. Sure enough, she went straight to the elevator, and I saw her enter a room with Rick. I could see their silhouettes through the curtains, the way they were kissing, touching. It was sickening. That's when I knew for sure she'd been lying to my face all along, pretending she was just working late or hanging out with friends. No, she was with Rick, having sex, probably more than once. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak, but I knew I had to keep my cool. I went back home and started plotting my revenge. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I figured the best way was to hit her where it hurt, her reputation, her pride. But I also didn't want to just blow everything up without a plan. So I decided I'd keep collecting evidence, wait for the right moment, then confront her in a way that would leave her helpless. One afternoon, I found myself at the airport, catching a flight to another tournament. I knew she was supposed to be there, but I had arranged for someone to follow her just in case. Turns out she didn't go to the tournament at all. Instead, she checked into a different hotel with Rick, just a day after our son's debate team had left for their next competition. It was obvious. She was hiding something, and I had proof now. When I returned home, she was already acting more bitchy than ever, snapping at me, throwing accusations about my paranoia, and claiming I'd become obsessive. But I didn't care about her denials anymore. I had what I needed. I sat her down one evening, right before dinner, and told her I knew everything. I played the recordings I'd made, the late-night whispers, her calling Rick babe, the explicit messages. Her face twisted with anger, shock, and a kind of contempt I'd never seen in her before. She tried to deny everything, then spun some bullshit about how Rick was just a friend helping her prepare for the debates. The classic lie. I knew better. I told her I was done, that I was leaving, that I'd had enough of her bullshit and her lies. She scoffed, told me I was crazy, said I was overreacting, but I didn't care anymore. The damage was done. That confrontation was the start of the fallout. I told her I'd be taking custody of Jake. If she ever tried to drag him into her mess, I'd see her in court. I wanted her to feel how much she'd hurt our family, how much her selfishness and lies had torn us apart. And honestly, I felt a strange sense of relief. Finally, I knew the truth and I could start healing. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. But it's not easy. I keep thinking about what she did, how she lied, how she thought she could get away with it. Sometimes I wonder if I should fight for us, try to fix this. Other times I just want to walk away and forget the whole thing. Either way, I realize now that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to repair. And the pain of betrayal, that stays with you longer than you think. The days after the confrontation felt like walking through a fog. I was angry, devastated, but also numb. There was this strange clarity in knowing the truth, yet it didn't make the pain any easier to swallow. I kept replaying everything in my head, the secret nights, the whispers, her sneering denial. It was like she'd been cheating on me for months, maybe longer, and I was only just catching on. The worst part was the betrayal of her lies, how she'd made me question myself, my judgment, all while sneaking around behind my back. I started to think about what I wanted moving forward. Part of me just wanted to walk away, forget she ever existed, and start over. But a stubborn part, maybe it was the pride or just the need to make her pay, wanted to do something more. I decided I'd play her game, but on my own terms. If she thought she was clever, I'd show her I was 10 times smarter. I knew her weakness, her ego. She loved to think she was always right, always in control. That's what I'd use to my advantage. I began to plan my revenge carefully. I contacted a private investigator, someone I found online, discreet and professional. I told him everything, handed over the evidence I'd collected, and asked him to dig deeper. I wanted to know if she was seeing Rick outside of the tournaments, maybe even with someone else. I wanted to know if she was planning to leave or if she was just trying to keep me in the dark until she decided what to do. The investigators' reports confirmed my suspicions. Lisa was not just cheating on me. She was actively planning to leave. She'd been talking about starting fresh with Rick, even discussing moving to another city after the debate season was over. She'd been shopping for apartments, talking about how she'd finally be free. That small detail made my blood boil. It was like she'd already made her choice, and I was just some obstacle in her way. I also found out she'd been secretly seeing Rick at that hotel, sometimes even to discuss debate strategies, though I knew what was really happening. It was all laid out in the texts, the photos, the hotel receipts. Every lie she told me, every excuse fell apart under the weight of the evidence. That's when I saw her true face, not the loving wife I thought I knew, but a manipulative, selfish woman who'd thrown everything away for some guy she barely knew. Now, I had enough to make her squirm. I decided to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I knew she'd try to deny everything, call me paranoid or jealous, so I arranged a little surprise, an intervention of sorts. I invited her to a talk at the house, but I also brought in a friend who was a lawyer just to be ready. I told her I had something to show her, something she wouldn't be able to deny. Her reaction was as I expected, defensive, bitchy, dismissive. She started with the usual denials, trying to act like I was crazy. But I cut her off and put the evidence right in front of her. Her face drained of color when she saw the photos of her with Rick, the hotel receipts, the messages. Her eyes darted around, searching for a way out. Her voice trembled as she tried to spin her lies, but I was done listening. I told her I knew everything about Rick, about her plans to leave, about her lying to me all these months. I told her I was sick of her bullshit, that I didn't want her anymore, not as a wife, not as a mother to Jake. I said I was filing for divorce and I'd fight for full custody. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences, and I wasn't going to be some fool who took her back after all this. She started crying then, fake tears, I knew that, trying to look innocent and fragile, but I wasn't buying it. I'd seen her true face, and I knew she was just a selfish, manipulative bitch who thought she could get away with everything. That moment I realized she'd been playing me from the start. She thought she could cheat, lie, and sneak out, and I'd never find out. Well, she was wrong. The aftermath was messy. She moved out within a week, taking Jake with her. I saw her packing her things, that bitchy smirk on her face as if she'd already won. But I didn't care about her victory. I felt empty but also relieved. I finally knew the truth, and now I could start healing. I filed for divorce, and I've been focusing on rebuilding my life piece by piece. Looking back, I guess what hurts most is the realization that I was blind for so long, trusting someone who was just using me, manipulating me. I learned that sometimes people don't change and you have to fight for yourself. If I could give any advice, it's this. Trust has to be earned, not given blindly. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Don't wait until it's too late to see the signs. The weeks following her move out have been a whirlwind of emotions. Honestly, some days I wake up feeling like I've been hit by a freight train, anger, sadness, a strange sense of relief all wrapped into one. I can't help but feel betrayed, like I was living in some illusion that she was the woman I married. When I think about all the times she lied to my face, about her motives, about Rick, about everything, it makes me sick. That bitch was so good at pretending, so convincing, until I finally caught her in the act. One of the hardest things has been seeing Jake struggle with it all. He's only 12, but even he feels the tension. The way she's been distant, the fights, the secretive phone calls, he's picked up on it all. I've tried to shield him, to tell him that Mom and I just need some space, but he's no idiot. Kids see more than we give them credit for. When he asked me why Mom was crying so much the other day, I just told him she was upset about some disagreements, but I could see the questions in his eyes, questions I don't have answers for. I've been trying to stay strong for Jake, holding it together, but inside, I feel broken. I never thought Lisa would do something so cold, so calculated. It's like she saw the marriage as a game she could manipulate and discard. That realization stings worse than anything. I mean, I poured so much into that relationship, everything I had. And for what? To be played. Like a fool. I've also started to reflect on myself. Did I miss the signs? Was I too blind to see she was already planning her escape? Honestly, part of me blames myself. Maybe I was too complacent, too trusting, believing her lies because I wanted to keep the peace. But now I see that sometimes love isn't enough. People change and some betrayals run too deep to fix. Still, I won't lie, I've had my moments of weakness. I've looked at her old stuff, her clothes, her jewelry, and wondered if I should just throw it all away. I even considered reaching out to Rick, just to get some closure or maybe even confront him. But I realized that wouldn't do any good. Rick's a symptom, not the root problem. Lisa's the one who made her choice. She's the one who decided to lie, cheat, and disrespect everything we built together. In the meantime, I've been focusing on work and trying to keep my mind busy. Every day feels like a battle between wanting to forget and wanting to expose everything about her. Sometimes I think about just deleting all her pictures, her messages, her stuff, cutting her out of my life completely. But part of me feels like I need to keep some of it as proof, just in case I need it down the line. What's hardest, though, is the feeling of betrayal. I trusted her with everything, my heart, my family, my life, and she threw it all away for what? Rick. Some fleeting excitement. It's infuriating. I don't even recognize her anymore. The woman I thought I knew was just a facade, and behind it was this cold, calculating bitch who used me for her own selfish needs. People keep telling me to move on, to focus on Jake and myself, but it's easier said than done. Every time I think I'm getting better, I remember that night, that moment I overheard her with Rick, how she begged him, how she lied to my face. That moment will stay with me forever. It's a scar that won't heal, a constant reminder that I was blind, and that the woman I loved was capable of this level of betrayal. I've also started to realize something about myself in all this. I used to think I was a forgiving person, someone who believed in the best in people. But now, I see that sometimes you have to protect yourself first. It's not about holding grudges, it's about knowing your worth and not accepting less than respect. Lisa crossed the line and I won't let her get away with it. Not anymore. In some ways, I feel like I've become more cautious, more guarded. It's like I've put up walls I never had before. I don't trust easily anymore, especially women who seem bitchy and manipulative. I've learned that people can pretend to be something they're not, that some betrayals are so deep you can't just forgive and forget. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is walk away and protect your own peace of mind. Now I'm at a crossroads. Do I try to reconcile knowing the damage is done? Or do I accept that some betrayals are irreparable and just move on? Honestly, I don't have the answers yet. I just know I need time, space, and a lot of healing. I want to rebuild my life for myself and Jake, but part of me still feels the sting of her betrayal every day. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but I guess I'll have to learn how to live with it. It's been a few months now since she moved out, and I've done a lot of thinking about her, about myself, and about what I need to do next. Honestly, I'm still angry most days, but I'm also starting to feel a strange sense of clarity. I never thought I'd be in this position, betrayed by someone I loved so deeply, someone I thought was my partner in everything. But life has a way of hitting you hard, and I guess you learn what you're really made of when you're on the ground. One thing I've realized is how much I let her manipulate me for years. I was always trying to keep peace, always trying to justify her bitchy attitude and her lies. I kept telling myself she was stressed or tired, but deep down, I knew she was just selfish. Seeing her with Rick, hearing her begging him for sex, opened my eyes to the kind of person she really is. She's not the woman I fell in love with. She's someone I hardly recognize anymore. That realization hurts more than I can say, but it's also liberating in a way. Now I see her for what she is, not what I wanted her to be. I've been working on rebuilding myself. Started going to the gym, focusing more on my career and spending quality time with Jake. I want him to see that even after all this, life goes on. I've also been seeing a therapist, someone I trust, to work through the betrayal. It's been helpful talking about everything, uncensoring my feelings and just venting to someone who listens. Because let's be honest, I've kept a lot inside: anger, sadness, disappointment, and holding it all in was eating me alive. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that trust is fragile. I used to believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt, but now I know that sometimes you just have to see the signs early and act on them. Lisa's lies, her manipulations, they all added up until I couldn't ignore them anymore. I wish I'd seen it sooner, but I also know that I was blinded by love. That's the cruel thing about betrayal. It makes you question everything, even your own judgment. As for her, I guess she's trying to move on too. I hear she's started dating Rick officially. At least that's what her social media says. Honestly, I don't care anymore. The fact that she's moved on doesn't bother me as much as the fact that she thought she could hide everything and leave me in the dark. I don't regret exposing her, though. It's better to know the truth, even if it hurts. Now I have closure. I can finally start healing, rebuild my life, and figure out what's next. Sometimes I get angry again, especially when I see some of her posts or hear from mutual friends about her new life. It stings, but I remind myself I deserve better. I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who won't lie to me behind my back. I've learned that from all this. The hard way, sure, but I get it now. I've been through hell, but I'm still standing. Maybe battered, maybe a little broken, but still alive. I want to say to anyone reading this, if you're in a similar situation, trust your instincts. Don't ignore the small signs because you love someone. Keep your eyes open and don't be afraid to ask questions, even if the answers hurt. Because in the end, the truth will set you free, no matter how bitter it tastes. And if someone is capable of betrayal like this, they're not worth the heartbreak. You gotta protect yourself, your happiness, and your peace of mind. I don't claim to have all the answers, and I'm still working through my feelings. But I do know one thing: I won't let her or anyone like her control my future. I've got a lot to rebuild, and I will. For me, for Jake, and for whatever happiness still awaits me beyond this mess. It's not the ending I wanted, but it's the one I'm choosing to live with now. Looking back, I honestly don't recognize the person I was before all this happened. I was naive, trusting, maybe a little too blind to the signs, and I let her manipulate my feelings for too long. But now I see things clearly. Betrayal cuts deep and it leaves scars, some invisible, some very much visible. Yet surprisingly, I feel like I've gained something in the process. Not in the way you might expect, but in a way that made me stronger. I've learned that love isn't enough to keep a relationship afloat when trust has been shattered. That no matter how much you want things to work, sometimes they just don't. And that's okay. It's better to face the harsh truth head-on than to keep living in denial. I realized I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who values me, not a woman who would cheat, lie, and then try to cover it up. That's not what marriage or partnership should ever be about. The hardest part was accepting that I could forgive her, not for her sake, but for myself. Forgiveness isn't about excusing what she did. It's about releasing the anger so it doesn't consume me. I have to move on, and that means letting go of the bitterness. It's not easy, but I know I can't carry this weight forever. I've started to focus on the good things in my life: my son, my job, my own future. I want to rebuild what's broken, and I will. One thing I've come to realize is that betrayal like this doesn't just destroy a relationship, it destroys a part of your sense of self. You start questioning everything, wondering if you were blind, if you missed the signs. But I've learned to forgive myself for that. Moving forward, I'll be more cautious, more aware. I won't ignore the red flags just because I want to believe in the best in people. I'll trust, but I'll trust wisely. As I sit here reflecting on it all, I feel a strange peace settling in. It's not the peace of forgetting or pretending it didn't happen. It's the peace of acceptance. Acceptance that some people are just not meant to be in your life forever. That sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away and never look back. It's about choosing yourself over the pain, over the betrayal. I hope anyone reading this who's going through something similar finds a little comfort in knowing they're not alone. Betrayal is one of the hardest things to survive, but it's also one of the most powerful teachers. It teaches you resilience, self-respect, and the importance of trusting yourself first. I may have lost my marriage, but I didn't lose my dignity, and I refuse to let her take that from me. In the end, I've realized that life keeps moving, regardless of the pain and the tears. And while I can't change what's happened, I can choose how I respond. I choose to be stronger, wiser, and more guarded, not because I want to shut people out, but because I refuse to be hurt like this again. That's the lesson I've learned. That's what I want others to understand. Betrayal hurts, but it doesn't have to define you. You get to decide what comes next. I'm going to keep moving forward, one step at a time, and never let anyone break my spirit again.